All right, Ms. Powell, I just have a few questions for you. Do you understand the nature of the charges that have been reaccused and that you would be pleading guilty to today?
I do, sir.
And are you pleading guilty today because you agree that there is a sufficient factual basis, that there are enough facts that support this plea of guilty?
I do.
But I must notify you, Ms. Powell, that you're not allowed to withdraw your plea simply because you do not comply with the terms of the sentence. And the terms of that sentence would be as recommended by the parties, essentially 6 years probation, but we're going to translate that into months for the sentence sheet. Special conditions would include a $6,000 fine with $1,000 for each count. You're to testify truthfully against any and all co-defendants in this matter at any upcoming proceedings. You are not to have any communication with any witness, any co-defendant, or any member of the media concerning the facts or circumstances of this case.
There's Sidney Powell pleading guilty to 6 misdemeanors, 6 counts of conspiracy to interfere with election duties, which is a significant reduction from the 7 felonies that she initially faced. Instead, she got these 6 years of probation in exchange for more info and dirt, potentially on Donald Trump, who somehow thought that this person with these kinds of accusations would be instrumental in his attempt to take over the country.
Here and uncovering more by the day is the massive influence of communist money through Venezuela, Cuba, and likely China in the interference with our elections here in the United States. The Dominion voting systems, the Smartmatic technology software, and the software that goes in other computerized voting systems here as well, not just Dominion, were created in Venezuela at the direction of Hugo Chavez to make sure he never lost an election after one constitutional referendum came out the way he did not want it to come out.
Georgia's probably going to be the first state I'm going to blow up, and Mr. Kemp and the Secretary of State need to go with it because they're in on the Dominion scam with their last-minute purchase or award of a contract to Dominion of $100 million. The State Bureau of Investigation for Georgia ought to be looking into the financial benefits received by Mr. Kemp and the Secretary of State's family about that time. And another benefit Dominion was created to award is what I would call election insurance. That's why Hugo Chavez had it created in the first place.
It's almost like their case was made to make every MAGA sucker fall for it, while also making every election official in legal proceeding laugh about it. She's pleading guilty to interfering in the election by willfully tampering with electronic ballot markers and tabulating machines, and with the intention of taking and appropriating information, data, and software from Dominion voting systems. That means before she found herself in court, she knew all of this while she was talking to as many media outlets as possible, no matter how embarrassing those media interviews turned out.
Do you ever hear yourself and think that it sounds ridiculous?
No, I know myself very well. I've been in me a long time. I know my reputation.
Let's get a few simple facts straight. In how many states were Smartmatic machines and software used in the 2020 election?
I don't even know the exact numbers.
A Google search would tell you, let alone anything that Smartmatic themselves have said subsequently, that they were involved in one single county in LA. Are you saying you're not aware of that?
Well, I'm saying I think their involvement's probably a lot bigger than that.
What actual research or fact-checking did you do at the time to find out what Smartmatic's actual involvement in the election was?
Do you work for Smartmatic?
You've made an allegation against Smartmatic that they stole a presidential election. I think it's incumbent on both of us to know what Smartmatic's involvement was. It seems like a pretty foundational fact.
I mean, I'm confused right now about why you're here.
When questions like how, when, and who get asked to a Trump election attorney like Powell, they have to shift and question the person's motivations for simply asking them, when are you going to provide all of that evidence that you keep talking about? Or if that fails, then they can just walk out.
All of the organizations who had the responsibility to check the nature of this election and to verify its results say there was no fraud.
That's the propaganda they're putting out. I disagree with that completely, and we have and will produce additional evidence that shows otherwise.
Are you saying that thousands of Americans participated in a fraud?
I am saying that thousands of Americans had some role in it, knowingly or unknowingly. It was essentially a bloodless coup where they took over the presidency of the United States without a single shot being fired.
You said that Smartmatic owns Dominion. How do you justify such a basic factual error?
I'm going to stop this interview. It's wholly inappropriate in the litigation that we're in.
But we're not even in the area of great dispute. These are the simple facts of who owns what.
No, we're done.
The embarrassing hits were so damn constant, I'm not sure how anyone continues to believe the claims that they refuse to present. And even if Donald Trump's plan was to only convince his minions that the election was stolen, mission accomplished. But now that the legal system is flipping co-conspirators like pancakes, it doesn't matter what his supporters believe. It matters what his confidants are now saying.
It's important to remember who Sidney Powell is. She's one of Donald Trump's closest loyalists. She's somebody who Donald Trump has claimed he relied on her advice to proceed in his effort to try to steal this election. What's going to happen now is Sidney Powell is going to testify for prosecutors in Georgia, and presumably she'll also be prepared to testify for Jack Smith in his federal case in Washington, D.C. She's not indicted in that case, but she's listed as a co-conspirator in that case.
We do know that prosecutors must have loved what they heard because they agreed to this plea deal. But look, I mean, this is someone who, as you mentioned, does stand at that intersection. It's hard to find a Donald Trump defender who promoted election fraud lies and pushed his false claims of that he won the Georgia election, quite like Sidney Powell. Now she stands from going from Donald Trump's chief legal warrior to someone who could be a star witness in the trial against him.